Welcome to my channel, where I share stories about women. Follow me to listen to today's exciting stories. The 10-year anniversary flowers arrived at 11 a.m., which was typical. Mark was precise, not romantic. 24 long-stemmed red roses, the same as year 1, 5, and 8. The card read, "To a decade, Mark. No love, no my beautiful wife." Just a period at the end of the sentence, like a full stop on the sentiment. I placed them in the crystal vase we'd gotten as a wedding gift. The cut glass throwing sharp, cold rainbows on the kitchen counter. My hands drifted to my stomach, still flat, holding the secret that wasn't a secret for much longer. A little flutter, just nerves, but I imagined it was more. I had taken the 5th pregnancy test this morning. Digital, declaring pregnant in bold. Undeniable letters. 8 weeks. Our baby. The baby he'd said he wanted. Eventually, when the time was right, when his promotion was secure, when the market stabilized, a timeline that kept receding. My time, however, was a present, ticking fact. 35. So, I'd taken matters into my own hands. He'd see, tonight, over the Chateau Lafayette he'd been saving. He'd see it was a blessing, not a mutiny. It would shake us from our comfortable, quiet rut. I chose the emerald silk dress, the one that brought out the green in my hazel eyes. Mark liked me in green. I did my makeup carefully, painting on the face of the woman he'd married. Lena Whitmore, poised, supportive, uncomplicated. My sister Rachel's voice echoed in my head from our call yesterday. Just tell him. Lee, rip the Band-Aid. It's good news, easy for her to say. Her marriage to Ben was allowed. Messy, affectionate partnership. Ours was a well-managed merger. The car service took me to Lusigna, the restaurant where we'd gotten engaged. Mark was already at the table, scrolling through his phone. He looked up, gave me the once-over, a slight, approving nod. "You look nice. Lena, you too." He did. His dark hair was perfectly styled, the slight silver at his temples making him look distinguished, not older. His suit was Seville Row, a gift from me last Christmas. We were a beautiful, hollow picture. We ordered. He discussed the Q3 projections. I made appropriate sounds. The waiter poured the Lafayette. It was time. I took a steadying breath, my hand going to my stomach under the tablecloth. "Mark, there's something I need to tell you. It's important." He set his wine glass down, finally giving me his full attention. A flicker of something in his blue eyes, annoyance. "If this is about the Aspen trip, Lena, I told you, it's a crucial retreat with the VPs. Wives aren't invited." I almost laughed. The sheer, magnificent self-absorption of it. "No, it's not about Aspen." I leaned forward, willing the words to come out steady, joyful. There's something I need to say first." He interrupted, his voice low, tense. He ran a hand over his mouth, a nervous tick I hadn't seen in years. "It's been eating at me. I have to get it out before anything else." A cold trickle of unease started in my chest. "Okay." He didn't look at me, instead focusing on twisting his wedding band. "It's about David, his younger brother, my sweet, slightly lost, artistic brother-in-law who brought me weird teas and talked about film scores. Is he okay?" "No." Mark finally met my eyes, and what I saw there was pure, unadulterated torment. "He came to me last week, drunk, crying. He swallowed. He's in love with you, Lena." The words hung in the air between us. Absurd. Impossible. I blinked. "What?" "He's in love with you," Mark repeated, each word a hammer blow. He confessed it all. How he's felt for years. How he thinks you're the only one who understands him. How you two have this connection. I stared, my mind scrambling. David. Sweet, flaky David with his vintage camera and his dog, Buster. That's ridiculous. Mark. He's like a brother to me. He's lonely. He's confused. The excuses tumbled out. Automatic. Mark's face hardened. Is it ridiculous? Is it, Lena? His voice was a sharp whisper. Because I've watched you. For months. The way you laugh at his jokes. The way you touch his arm when you're talking. The looks. Horror dawned. Cold and slick. This wasn't just David's delusion. Mark believed it. He'd been stewing in it. Watching. Cataloging. The cozy movie nights when David came over. The long chats in the kitchen. The hug I'd given him when he sold his first photography series. All of it, twisted in Mark's suspicious mind into something sordid. You've been watching. My own voice rose, drawing a glance from the next table. I didn't care. Mark, there is nothing. David is a sweet boy who needs a friend. That's it. He's not a boy. He's a 32-year-old man. Mark shot back, his control fraying, and he told me everything. About the night I was in San Francisco. He came over. You were that intimate. The room tilted. San Francisco. For months ago. A 3-day trip. I'd had the flu. A bad one. David had dropped by with chicken soup from the Jewish deli I like. He'd made me tea. We'd watched an old movie. I'd fallen asleep on the couch. He'd left a blanket over me. That was the entire, pathetic, unintimate story. He brought me soup because I was sick. I hissed. I fell asleep. He left. That is the everything had happened. My God, Mark, are you listening to yourself? He described the mole on your lower back. Mark whispered, his face pale. The one only someone who's seen you, without clothes, would know. The cold in my chest turned to ice. My mind raced. The mole. I'd had it lasered off 2 years ago. A dermatologist appointment. David wouldn't know that. But Mark had been there when I debated doing it. He'd seen the before. David's knowledge was secondhand. Recycled from some offhand comment Mark must have made. The pieces clicked into a dreadful, ugly picture. David had built a fantasy, and he'd fed it with scraps pilfered from our real life. And Mark, my husband of 10 years, had chosen to believe the fantasy over me. All the anxiety, the hope, the secret joy I'd carried for weeks curdled into something black and furious. The dam broke. You selfish, paranoid bastard, I said, my voice shaking with a rage so pure it scared me. You've been sitting on this, accusing me in your head, letting your brother's pathetic crush poison everything. And you didn't even have the guts to ask me. I'm asking you now. He snapped. Well, here's your answer. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. I didn't care about the stairs now. I leaned over the table, my hands flat on the white linen. I am pregnant, Mark. 8 weeks pregnant. With a child I was going to tell you about tonight. A child I thought, in my naivete, might bring us back to life. But you're already dead. You're a corpse in a suit, and I've been married to a ghost. The color drained from his face completely. He looked as if I'd struck him. His eyes dropped to my stomach, then flew back to my face. A storm of emotions, shock, confusion, a dawning, terrible suspicion. I saw his mind working, the accountant in him doing the brutal math. 8 weeks. San Francisco was 4 months ago. Irrelevant. But his business trip to Denver, that was 9 weeks ago. 8 weeks of pregnancy meant conception around that time. And who had stayed at the house, feeding the cat, collecting the mail, while he was in Denver? David. The realization slammed into him, visible in the widening of his eyes, the slight drop of his jaw. His suspicion wasn't replaced by joy, but by a deeper, more visceral horror. The narrative in his head didn't shift to I'm going to be a father, but to which one of us is the father. He stood up slowly, the movement rigid. The elegant restaurant seemed to hold its breath. He took a step toward me, his voice a low, guttural rasp that barely carried across the table. Whose is it? 2 words that shattered the last, fragile remnant of my marriage. They hung in the perfumed air, vile and final. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The tears that came weren't the happy ones I'd imagined, but hot, furious rivers of betrayal and loss. I turned and fled, the emerald silk swirling around my legs, my heels clicking a desperate staccato on the marble floor. I didn't head for the exit. I beelined for the restroom, a sanctuary of white tile and muted lights. I slammed through the door, startling a woman washing her hands. She took one look at my face and hurried out. I locked myself in the large, handicapped stall, my back against the cool door, sliding down until I hit the floor. The sobs came then, great, heaving things that tore from my throat. 10 years, a decade of my life, of building a home, a partnership, or what I thought was one, reduced to this, on a bathroom floor, accused of an affair with his unstable brother. My pregnancy, my joy, turned into a crime scene. Whose is it? The cruelty of it took my breath away. Then, cutting through the haze of grief, a sharper, cleaner emotion, fury, white hot and clarifying. He didn't get to do this. He didn't get to reduce me to this weeping creature hiding in a bathroom. I fumbled in my clutch, pulling out my phone. My hands were trembling, but my mind was suddenly, terrifyingly clear. I opened my texts, went to my sister Rachel's contact. Our childhood pact, made in a dusty attic while hiding from our father's rage, floated into my mind, a silly, dramatic promise between two scared girls. Code Black, Operation Phoenix, Initiate. I typed the 3 lines, my thumb hovering over send. It was the nuclear option, the signal that the man I'd married was not just flawed, not just cold, but a monster. The signal that the carefully constructed life was a prison, and it was time to burn it down and rise from the ashes. I took a deep, ragged breath. Outside the stall, I could hear the restaurant's muted sounds of clinking silverware and murmured conversation. A normal world, a world I was about to leave behind. I pressed send. Almost instantly, my phone vibrated with a response. Rachel, ever vigilant, ever ready, confirmed. Stage 1 in motion. A new, different kind of tear escaped, one of relief. I wasn't alone. The cavalry, in the form of my fiercely capable big sister, was on its way. A pounding fist on the bathroom door made me jump. Lena, open this door. We're not done. Mark's voice, strained, angry, desperate. I stayed silent, wiping my face with a piece of toilet paper. The mascara came off in black smears. I didn't look like the poised Lena Whitmore anymore. I looked like a woman at war. Lena, God damn it, David told me everything. About the night, about the dot connection you two have. Just admit it. His words seeped under the door. David's fantasy, now fully weaponized. I thought of David's kind, guileless face, the face of a man who lived half in a dream. He hadn't meant for this to happen. He'd spun a sad little story, and my husband had chosen to buy the whole tragic series. I stood up, my legs shaky but holding. I looked at my reflection in the polished metal of the grab bar. Puffy eyes, ruined makeup, a streak of defiance in the set of my jaw. The prey was gone. Something else was looking back. I flushed the toilet for noise, unlocked the stall, and walked to the sink. I turned on the cold water, splashed my face, patting it dry with a stiff paper towel. I didn't reapply my lipstick. I met my own gaze in the mirror. Okay, Mark, I thought. You want a show? You'll get one. I walked to the door, took another steadying breath, and opened it. He was there, looming, his face a mask of conflicted anguish. Lena, we need to. I cut him off, my voice unnervingly calm, flat, the calm after the storm, or the eye within it. We will discuss this, but not here, and not just us. I looked him dead in the eye, seeing the stranger he'd become. You will call your brother. You will tell him to be at our house tomorrow morning at 10. The 3 of us will talk. He will repeat his fantasy, and I will respond. Mark blinked, thrown by my composure. Why? Why put yourself through that? Why him? Because this isn't between you and me anymore, I said, stepping past him into the hushed hallway. I could feel the stares from the dining room. Let them look. It's between you, me, and the fiction you've both decided to believe. We're going to have it out in the open. All of it. I started walking toward the exit, not checking to see if he followed. My spine was straight, my head high. The emerald silk dress felt like armor now. And then, I said, throwing the words over my shoulder like a gauntlet, "You'll find out exactly whose it is." I didn't wait for the valet. I walked out into the cool Chicago night, the city lights blurring through unshed tears that were no longer of despair, but of furious, focused resolve. The game was on, and for the first time in 10 years, I finally knew the rules. The Uber ride home was a silent, rolling cell. Mark took a separate car. I spent the 20 minutes staring at my phone, watching the three little dots as Rachel typed and deleted. Typed and deleted. Finally, her call came through. I answered, my voice surprisingly steady. "Hey, code black." Her voice was all business, a drill sergeant's tone that brooked no hysterics. "Are you safe? Are you at home? In a car? Heading there. He's in another car. Good. Don't go home. Go to the condo." The condo was a one-bedroom in Lincoln Park Rachel and her husband Ben used as an investment property. It was empty between tenants. Our emergency bolt hole. "I need to go home. I need to pack. I need things. Send me a list. I'll have Ben get it tomorrow. Do not be in that house with him tonight. Lena, not after what you just said. Not with this madness about David." I could hear the protective fury vibrating down the line. Rachel had never fully trusted Mark. She said he was too polished, like a product, not a person. I'd accused her of being unfair. Now, her "I told you so" was silent but palpable. She was right. The thought of facing Mark in our sterile, perfect bedroom, of lying next to the stranger he'd become tonight, made my skin crawl. Okay, the condo. Key is under the blue pot with the dead geranium. I'm activating the network. We'll be ready for stage 1 by 0900. Rachel was ex-Army, a logistician. Her idea of comfort was a well-executed ops plan. "Rachel, the baby." Her voice softened, just a fraction. "The baby is fine. The baby is the priority. Everything we do now is for the baby. Operation Phoenix is a maternity op, understood." A watery laugh escaped me. "Understood. I'll call you at 8 a.m. with briefing 1. Don't answer the door. Don't answer his calls unless it's on speaker and I'm on the line. Screen everything. You're in lockdown until the extraction is complete." Extraction. The word made it sound like I was in a war zone. Maybe I was. "He wants David there tomorrow. At the house. To talk." Rachel was silent for a beat. I could hear her mind whirring. "Good. That's good. It forces the conflict into the open. A controlled detonation. We'll be ready. Is David, is he dangerous?" I thought of David, with his shy smile and his camera always around his neck. No, he's not dangerous. He's sad. He's confused. Mark is the one who's turned it into something ugly. Mark is the target. Rachel said, her voice hard again. "David is a tool he's using, willingly or not. We deal with the wielder. Now go. I'll handle the rest." She hung up. The Uber driver, a young guy with a man bun, glanced at me in the rear view. "Everything okay, ma'am?" I met his eyes in the mirror. "Just a bad anniversary," I said, managing a thin smile. He nodded sympathetically. "Rough night. I get it." He had no idea. The condo was cold and smelled of dust and lemon-scented cleaner. I found the key, let myself in. It was furnished in generic IKEA, a beige sofa, a glass coffee table, a flat-screen TV on a stand. It felt like a hotel, which was perfect. It wasn't home. Home was contaminated. My phone buzzed. "Mark, a text. Where are you? We need to talk." I didn't answer. I poured myself a glass of water from the tap and sat on the edge of the sofa, my mind racing. Operation Phoenix. Stage 1. Rachel and I had devised the plan in the darkest days of my father's reign, a childish fantasy of escape. We'd refined it as teenagers, a detailed, step-by-step protocol for if our future husbands ever showed the same controlling, cruel tendencies. We'd laughed about it over wine, calling it our nuclear option. It was a game, a morbid joke, until it wasn't. The first stage was always intel and isolation. Gather information, secure a safe location, cut off the target's access. Rachel was on intel. I was in isolation. My phone buzzed again. This time, a number I didn't recognize. A 312 area code. Chicago. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification popped up. Voicemail received. Against my better judgment, I put it on speaker. David's voice, hesitant, slurring slightly. He'd been drinking. Lena. Hey, it's David. Mark called. He's really upset. He said some crazy stuff about you and me. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay, we're friends. Good friends. But that's it, right? He gets ideas sometimes. Call me back. Okay, let's just clear this up. I stared at the phone. The denial, the backtracking. It didn't match the conviction Mark had described. Had Mark exaggerated David's confession? Or was David now scared, backpedaling from his own drunken fantasy? The inconsistency was a loose thread. I tugged at it mentally. I texted Rachel the gist of the voicemail. Her reply was instantaneous. Gaslighting. Classic. He's trying to soften you up before the confrontation. Do not engage. She was probably right. But something about David's tone, the genuine bewilderment, nagged at me. Sleep was impossible. I spent the night on the stiff sofa, wrapped in a spare blanket, watching the lights of the city blink through the blinds, one hand resting on my stomach. It's just you and me, kid, I whispered into the dark, silent room. And your Aunt Rachel. We're going to be okay. At 8 a.m. sharp, my phone rang. Rachel. I put it on speaker. Status. She barked. Alive. Tired. Pregnant. Good. Intel report. First. Mark. He tried to call you 17 times between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. He left 2 voicemails, escalating from pleading to angry. He also called me at 3:17 a.m., demanding to know where you were. I played dumb, said you were probably at a hotel, and told him to stop harassing me. He hung up, not suspicious yet, just desperate. I could picture it. Mark hated losing control of a narrative. My disappearance was a narrative flaw he couldn't tolerate. Second, Rachel continued. David, I did a deep dive. Nothing criminal. He's a mess. Financially, maxed out credit cards. Studio apartment in Wicker Park. Sporadic income from freelance photography. His social media is intense. A lot of melancholic posts about unrequited love. Soulmates. Fate. Nothing naming names. But a pattern of obsession. One ex-girlfriend. Melissa G. tagged in a few photos from 2 years ago. I've reached out to her, waiting to hear back. You contacted his ex? I asked, startled. Intel. Lena, we need to know what we're dealing with. Is he a harmless daydreamer or a potential stalker? His brother clearly thinks it's the latter. We need to know why. She was right, but it felt invasive, cruel. Then I remembered Mark's face in the restaurant. Whose is it.m? Why sympathy evaporated. Third, and most important, Rachel's voice dropped, became more serious. The financials. Ben accessed the joint account records. As of 5 p.m. yesterday, before your dinner, the balance was 287.000. This morning, at 7 a.m., all wire transfer was initiated for 250.000 to an account at First United Savings and Trust. The account is under the name M. Whitmore Holdings. LLC. I sat up straight, the blanket falling away. What? He's draining our account. He tried. The transfer is pending. It requires dual authorization for amounts over $200,000. He initiated it, but it won't go through without your approval via the text code. Has he called you about that? I checked my phone. No calls or texts about a security code. No. He will. He's moving money. This is him preparing for a split. He's trying to lock down assets before you even file. The prenup gives you the house and half the liquid assets acquired during the marriage. He's trying to slash the liquid assets part. The cold, calculating reality of it hit me harder than the emotional betrayal. He wasn't just heartbroken or suspicious. He was executing a financial strategy. Our marriage, our life, was a column of numbers to him, and he was doing the math to minimize my share. What do I do? My voice was small. You do nothing. You let the transfer pend. It'll expire in 48 hours. It shows his intent. Our lawyer will love it. Which brings me to stage 1, legal and financial fortification. I've contacted Alicia Vance. Alicia Vance was the most feared divorce attorney in Chicago. She'd taken Rachel's friend from a cheating husband and left him living in a studio apartment while her friend got the brownstone, the beach house, and the Labrador. I've briefed her. She's drawing up papers. She's also filing a motion for a temporary restraining order based on the verbal harassment and the threatening "whose is it" line. It's a stretch, but it establishes a paper trail. It also freezes all major assets pending a hearing. He won't be able to move a dime. I absorbed this. My quiet, controlled life was now in the hands of a pitbull attorney and my tactical sister. Okay, now, the confrontation today. Your objective is not to convince Mark. It's to expose David's story as a lie. On the record. I'll be there. What? How? I'll let myself in through the garden entrance before 10. I'll be in the sunroom with the door cracked. I'll record everything. My phone. And a backup device. We need his confession, his lies, his instability on tape. For the divorce. And for the custody case. Custody. The word was a punch to the gut. This was about a child now. Our child. His child. Biologically. A fresh wave of nausea. Not from pregnancy. Swept over me. Lena, listen to me. Rachel's voice was a command. You are a mother now. Your only job is to protect your child. That means protecting yourself. Emotionally, financially, legally. This isn't about revenge. It's about survival. You go in there. You let David talk. You let Mark accuse. And then you dismantle them. With facts. You're good with facts. Be a fucking librarian. I'd been a research librarian before I quit to freelance. To have the flexible schedule Mark said we'd need when we started a family. The family that never came. Until now. I'm scared. Ratch. I know. But you're not alone. I'll be in the sunroom. You'll be able to hear me breathing if you listen hard. Now, get dressed. Wear something that makes you feel powerful. Not the silk. Jeans. A sweater. You're going to war. Not a dinner party. At 9:45 a.m., I stood on the porch of our Georgian-style house in Old Town. My house. The prenup was clear on that. My fingers trembled as I fit the key in the lock. I pushed the door open. The house was silent, the way it always was. Perfectly clean. Smelling of the lemon verbena cleaner the housekeeper used. A museum of our marriage. I walked to the kitchen. Mark was there, at the island, clutching a mug of black coffee. He looked like hell pale, unshaven, eyes bloodshot. He was still in yesterday's dress shirt, now wrinkled. We stared at each other across the cold marble. The air was thick with everything unsaid. You didn't come home, he said, his voice hoarse. No, where were you? Safe. His jaw tightened. Lena, we need to talk about this situation. About the baby. We need to get a paternity test. Immediately. We will, I said calmly, leaning against the counter. After David gets here and repeats his story, "Why are you doing this?" he exploded, slamming the mug down. Coffee sloshed over the side. "Why are you torturing me? Just tell me the truth. Did you sleep with my brother?" I didn't flinch. "You've already decided the truth, Mark. I'm just giving you a chance to hear it from the source." The doorbell rang, a cheerful chime that felt obscene. Mark glared at me, then went to answer it. I took a deep breath, my eyes flicking to the sunroom door. It was open a crack, just an inch. I saw no one, but I felt her presence. Rachel, my anchor. Mark returned with David in tow. David looked even worse than Mark, pale, hungover, his floppy brown hair unkempt. He couldn't meet my eyes. He gave me a weak, miserable wave. "Hey, Lena." "David," I said, my tone neutral. "Okay," Mark said, positioning himself between us like a referee. "We're all here. David, tell her. Tell her what you told me." David shuffled his feet, looking at the floor. "I don't know, man. I was drunk. I said a bunch of stupid stuff." Mark's face flushed with anger. "You weren't that drunk. You were clear. You said you were in love with her. You said you'd been in love with her for years. You said you had a moment while I was gone." David risked a glance at me, his eyes pleading. "Lena, I'm sorry. It's just you're so you listen to me. You get my art. Melissa, she never and you're just there. You're just always there." It was a pathetic, confused ramble, not a confession of an affair, but the confession of a lonely man projecting onto the nearest kind woman. "What moment?" "David," I asked, my voice quiet. "Tell me about this moment Mark says you described." David looked at Mark, panicked. "I don't know. The night with the soup. You were in your pajamas, the soft blue ones. We talked about life, about how trapped you felt. You cried. I held you. It meant something." I almost felt sorry for him. He'd taken a moment of basic human kindness and spun it into a romantic scene in his head. But sympathy was a luxury I couldn't afford. I had the flu, David, a 102-degree fever. I was wearing my rattiest Michigan sweats from college. I was crying because I couldn't breathe through my nose and my head felt like it was splitting. You brought me soup from the bagel. You patted my back like I was a sick puppy. Then you left to go meet your friends at the Violet Hour. I know because you texted me a picture of your cocktail an hour later. Would you like to see it? I pulled out my phone, scrolled back 4 months, and found the photo, a violet-colored drink. The timestamp, 9:47 p.m. I'd replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I showed it to Mark. His eyes darted from the phone to David's guilty face. "And the mole?" Mark pressed. A last, desperate gambit. "You described the mole on her lower back." Now I did laugh. A short, bitter sound. "I had that mole removed 2 years ago, Mark, at the Northwestern Dermatology Center. You drove me. You waited in the lobby." David has never seen my lower back, with or without a mole. The color drained from Mark's face. The last pillar of his accusation crumbled. He looked at his brother, not with betrayal, but with a dawning, horrified understanding. David hadn't seduced his wife. David had a problem, a serious, delusional problem. David looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. I must have heard you talk about it. I thought. You thought wrong," I said, not unkindly, but firmly. "You built a story in your head, David, and you almost blew up my life with it." The room was silent. Mark looked broken. David looked shattered. I felt a surge of clear power. Stage 1 was complete. I'd dismantled the affair narrative. Now it was time to change the battlefield entirely. I took a deep breath. "Now that we've established what didn't happen," I said, my voice ringing in the quiet kitchen, "let's talk about what is happening." I reached into my purse and pulled out the folded receipt from the fertility clinic. I smoothed it on the cold marble countertop, turning it to face Mark. "I'm 8 weeks pregnant, Mark." But you were in Denver 9 weeks ago. And the math for conception with David doesn't work either. Unless you think it was an immaculate infection from his chicken soup. I tapped the receipt. I used a donor. From the Great Beginnings Fertility Clinic. I went alone. I chose the profile. I did the procedure. This is my child. Ours. If you can remember how to be a human being. But it is not. And never was. David's. Mark stared at the receipt. At the clinic's logo. At the date. At the line item for donor insemination procedure. His face went through a journey. Shock. Confusion. A flicker of what might have been hurt. And finally, a settling into cold. Hard calculation. You went behind my back. He whispered. You left me no choice. I shot back, the calm deserting me. You kept moving the goalposts. One more promotion. One more quarter. One more year. My biological clock isn't a snooze button. Mark. So you defrauded me, he said, his voice rising. You lied. You brought a stranger's child into my house. It's my house. I yelled, the years of quiet resentment boiling over. And it's my body. And it's my life. You checked out of this marriage years ago. You left me with spreadsheets and silence, and a brother with a creepy obsession. Don't you drag David into your betrayal. Mark roared. I'm not the one who dragged him in. You did. We were screaming now. 10 years of polite repression erupting like a volcano. David cowered by the door, a spectator to his own disastrous making. And then, a new voice, calm and clear, cut through the noise. I think that's quite enough. The sunroom door swung open. Rachel stood there, dressed in a sleek black pantsuit, her dark hair in a severe bun. In one hand, she held her phone, recording. In the other, a thick manila folder. Mark's head whipped around. Rachel, what the hell are you doing here? This is a private matter. Not anymore, Rachel said, stepping fully into the kitchen. She looked like an avenging angel. Not when the private matter involves financial fraud, emotional coercion, and a planned paternity fraud accusation to gain leverage in a forthcoming divorce. Mark stared, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? Rachel ignored him, placing the folder on the counter next to the fertility receipt. She opened it. This, she said, pulling out a bank statement, is a record of the wire transfer you initiated this morning at 7:03 a.m. $250,000 from your joint marital account to M. Whitmore Holdings, LLC, an LLC registered solely to you. Mark's face went slack with shock. How did you? That's a business investment. It's pending. It's not approved. It shows intent, Rachel said, smoothly. Intent to dissipate marital assets. Judge O'Malley doesn't like that. Especially, she pulled out another sheet. When combined with this, credit card statements for the Langham Hotel, twice a month for the past 18 months, room service charges, champagne, and a lovely recurring note. Lunch with client. Chloe. She looked up at Mark, her gaze icy. Your assistant. Chloe. Correct. The one whose apartment lease you co-signed. The one you've been promising to leave your wife for. The air left the room. Mark looked like he'd been gut-punched. I stared at Rachel, then at Mark. The affair. I'd had suspicions, vague unease, but I'd buried them. To have it laid out so baldly, with receipts. And as for the paternity fraud accusation, Rachel continued, her voice like a scalpel. That's simply a preemptive strike, isn't it, Mark? You find out Lena's pregnant. You panic. You know, a child changes the divorce settlement dramatically, especially with the fidelity clause in your prenup. So you use your brother's pathetic crush to create a scenario where the child might not be yours. You gin up the drama, force a confrontation, so that when the baby comes, you can challenge paternity, drag her through the mud, and improve your bargaining position. It's actually quite clever, in a sociopathic kind of way. I was reeling. Was that true? Had he planned this? I looked at Mark's face. The shock was fading, replaced by a frantic, cornered animal calculation. He didn't deny it. He was running the new variables, the exposed traps, recalculating his odds. David made a small, wounded sound. You used me. You told me to be honest about my feelings. You said it was eating you up. Mark didn't even look at him. His eyes were locked on Rachel, on the damning papers in the folder. You have no right to be here. This is illegal. You're trespassing. And that, he pointed a shaking finger at her phone, is illegal recording. Illinois is a two-party consent state. Rachel acknowledged with a thin smile. Good thing I'm not a party to the conversation. I'm just a visitor in my sister's home, accidentally recording a very loud argument. And as for trespassing, Lena invited me. It's her house. Check the deed. And the prenup. Checkmate. I saw the realization dawn in Mark's eyes. He was outflanked, outgunned, and exposed. The doorbell rang again. We all froze. The sound was so normal, so utterly out of place in the bombed-out landscape of our kitchen. Are you expecting someone else? Rachel asked, her eyebrow arched. Mark didn't answer. He just stared at the door, a new, different dread on his face. I walked to the door, my legs on autopilot. I looked through the peephole. A young woman stood on the porch. Pretty, blonde, dressed in a chic navy coat. She looked nervous, shifting her weight from foot to foot. It was Chloe, Mark's assistant. In her hand, she held a phone. Mark's phone. I opened the door. She blinked, surprised to see me. Oh, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm so sorry to bother you. Mark, did I mean? Mr. Whitmore. He left his phone at my place last night. He was so upset after your dinner. He came over to talk, and he must have anyway. She held out the phone. A peace offering. He's not answering his texts, and he has a big call with Singapore at 10:30. So I thought I should just. Her voice trailed off as she took in the scene behind me. Mark. Pale and furious, Rachel, holding a folder like a weapon. David, looking like he might be sick, and me, standing in the doorway of my crumbling life. Her eyes went wide. Oh, she said again, softly. Oh, God. Behind me, I heard Mark whisper. A low, desperate sound. No. I took the phone from her numb fingers. Thank you, Chloe, I said, my voice surprisingly gentle. That was very considerate of you. I looked past her, into the bright, cold Chicago morning. Why don't you come in? I think you're part of this conversation now. I stepped aside, holding the door open wider. The final player had arrived on stage. The game had just gotten a lot more complicated. Eardrums. Chloe stood frozen on the threshold, a rabbit caught in the sudden glare of headlights. She looked from me, to Mark's ashen face, to Rachel with her damning folder, to David, a confused, wild-eyed mess in the corner. I thought I should go, Chloe whispered, taking a step back. No, I said, the word cutting through the thick air. My voice sounded foreign to me, calm and authoritative. The shock of her appearance had jolted me into a new, colder clarity. You brought his phone. You're involved. You might as well understand the full picture. Rachel gave an almost imperceptible nod of approval. Controlled detonation. Her eyes seemed to say, let it all blow. Chloe hesitated, then stepped inside, closing the door softly behind her. The click of the latch was deafening. She kept her coat on, arms wrapped around herself. Chloe, you need to leave, Mark said, finding his voice. It was ragged, strained. This is a private family matter. Is it? I asked, turning to face him. I still held his phone, a sleek black brick of secrets. Because it seems our private family matter involves hotel charges and a co-signed lease. It seems you've made her very much a part of our family, Mark. Financially, at least. Chloe flinched. It's not what it looks like. It never is, Rachel said dryly, not looking up from the papers she was neatly reorganizing in her folder. but the paper trail has a certain visual consistency. Twice a month at the Langham. That's a lot of client lunches. Mark finally moved, taking a step toward Chloe, his hand out. Give me my phone and go. Now. I pulled the phone back, holding it against my chest. I think I'll hold on to this. Evidence. You understand. In case you try to delete anything before the forensic examiner gets to it. Forensic examiner. Mark's eyes bulged. Lena, what the hell are you talking about? This is insane. What's insane? I said, my calm finally cracking, letting the fury seep through. Is you sitting across from me at Lusigna, accusing me of sleeping with your brother, asking whose is it about my child, while you've been fucking your assistant for a year and a half and funneling our money into a secret account. That, Mark, is the very definition of insane. The word hung in the air. Ugly and true. David made a small, choked sound. We'd all forgotten he was there. You're having an affair. David's voice was thin, reedy. He looked at his brother, betrayal dawning on his own face. All this time that you were yelling at me, making me feel like a monster for having feelings, and you were cheating. David, shut up. Mark snapped, not taking his eyes off me. This is between me and my wife. No, it's not. David shouted, his voice breaking. You dragged me into it. You called me last week. You got me drunk. You kept asking me about Lena, about how I felt. You wanted to say it. You egged me on. A new piece of the puzzle slammed into place with dizzying force. I looked at Mark, seeing not just a betrayed husband, but a puppeteer. You manipulated him. I breathed. You fed his delusion. You wanted this. Mark's silence was confirmation enough. He'd seen David's pathetic crush, seen a tool, and decided to use it to create a crisis, a smokescreen. Why? I asked, the word barely a whisper. He didn't answer. He just stared. A trapped animal. Rachel did it for him. Leverage, she said, her tone clinical. He found out about the baby. Probably saw a receipt. Or you were sick. Or he just guessed. He knew a child would strengthen your position in a divorce immeasurably, especially with the infidelity clause. He needed a counter-narrative. Paternity uncertainty. Enter David, the perfect, unstable patsy. She looked at David with something almost like pity. You were set up, kid, by your own brother. David looked like he'd been slapped. He swayed on his feet, his hand reaching for the kitchen island to steady himself. The hurt in his eyes was profound. A child's hurt. The big brother he idolized had not only rejected him, but had used his deepest, most shameful feelings as a weapon. You bastard, David whispered. Mark ignored him, his focus laser-sharp on the immediate threat. Rachel and her folder. None of this is admissible. It's stolen. It's a violation of privacy. The bank statements are from a joint account, to which Lena is a signatory. Rachel recited, as if from a legal brief. The credit card is a joint marital asset. The hotel records were obtained through a perfectly legal third-party security consultant I hired. Nothing stolen, just uncovered. She smiled, a thin, predatory curve of her lips. You should have been smarter with your passwords. Mark, Aspen, 2023. Really? That's the name of the retreat you told Lena she couldn't go on. Poetic. Chloe made a small, desperate sound. Mark, you told me you were separated. You said you were just waiting for the right time to finalize things. You said she was unstable, that she'd had breakdowns. I laughed. A short, sharp bark. Unstable. Of course. I looked at Mark. What was my diagnosis? Bipolar? Borderline? Or just the classic hysterical woman? He had the decency to look away, his jaw working. He said you had a personality disorder. Chloe said, her voice small, that you were refusing treatment, that you'd made up the idea of a baby to trap him. He said it was a phantom pregnancy. The cruelty of it took my breath away. He'd not only cheated, he'd built a whole alternate reality where I was the villain, the crazy ex-wife in waiting. He'd painted me as unstable to his mistress, and as an adulteress to me. He was playing both sides, a master manipulator in a tailored suit. Well, I said, my hand drifting to my stomach, this phantom is 8 weeks along, has a strong heartbeat, and is making me nauseous every morning. Pretty real for a delusion. Chloe's eyes dropped to my midsection, then flew to Mark's face. The confusion there was being replaced by a dawning, sickening realization. You said she was lying. You said she was trying to trick you. He's the one who's been tricking you. Honey, Rachel said, not unkindly, you're the other woman. A cliché with a co-signed lease. He was never leaving his wife. He was just siphoning off marital funds to keep you quiet and comfortable until it suited him to end it. Tears welled in Chloe's eyes. She was young, maybe 26, pretty in a polished, corporate way. I saw it then. She wasn't a scheming seductress. She was a believer. She'd bought the story Mark sold her. Hook, line, and sinker. A wave of nausea that had nothing to do with pregnancy hit me. We were both his victims, just in different cages. Is it true? Chloe asked Mark, her voice trembling. Were you ever going to leave her? Mark finally looked at her, and the mask of the confident executive was gone. In its place was a harried, cornered man. Chloe, not now. This isn't the time or place. We'll talk later. Later, she echoed, a hysterical laugh bubbling up. There's not going to be a later. You used me. You used me to make her look bad, and you used her to keep me on the hook. What am I? A pawn. Yes, I, Rachel. And David said in unison. The strange harmony broke the tension for a second. Chloe stared at Mark, waiting for a denial that didn't come. Her face crumpled. She fumbled for the door handle, yanked it open, and fled into the bright morning, her heels clicking a frantic rhythm down the front steps. The four of us were left in the aftermath. The kitchen felt smaller, the air heavier. David was the first to speak. You're a real piece of work. You know that, he said to Mark, his voice thick with disgust. All those talks about family, about loyalty, and you're just a liar, a user. You're one to talk, with your creepy obsession with my wife. Mark shot back, the venom returning now that Chloe was gone. I never lied to her. I never cheated on her. I just felt something. You twisted it. You made it into something dirty. It is dirty. Mark roared, advancing on his brother. She's your sister-in-law. You're sick, David. You need help. I'm not the one who needs help. David shouted back, standing his ground. You're a sociopath. You have no feelings. You just use people. You used Mom. You use me. You use Lena. You use that poor girl who just ran out of here. Don't you talk about Mom. Mark's face was a mask of rage, a raw nerve, exposed. David saw it and leaned in, a cruel light in his eyes. Why not? Because you feel guilty. Because you promised her you'd look after me. Is that why you've been cleaning up my messes all these years? Not out of love, out of guilt. Because you couldn't save her. So you're stuck with me. Her messed up, broken souvenir. Mark's hand shot out, grabbing David by the front of his rumpled shirt. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Let him go. Mark, I said, my voice cutting through the scuffle. Now, Mark's grip tightened, his knuckles white. David didn't fight back. He just stared at his brother with a mixture of hatred and perverse triumph. He'd gotten to him. Mark. Rachel's voice was a whip crack. Release him, or the restraining order I'm filing today will include assault charges. Do you want to explain that to the partners at the firm? Sorry, missed the Singapore call. Was too busy choking my brother in my kitchen. The mention of his career, his precious reputation, did what my command could not. Mark's fingers uncurled. He shoved David away, sending him stumbling back against the refrigerator. David straightened his shirt, a smug, ugly smile on his face. See, he can't handle the truth. Never could. I'd had enough. The siblings' decades-old dysfunction was a sideshow. The main event was the wreckage of my marriage. My future. My child's security. Both of you, get out, I said, my voice low and steady. They both turned to look at me, identical expressions of shock on their different faces. This is my house, I continued, and I want you both out of it. Mark, you can go to your club, or to Chloe's, though I doubt she'll have you. David, go back to your studio. I don't care. Get out. You can't kick me out of my own home. Mark sputtered. I can, and I am. The prenup is clear. The house is mine in the event of a separation due to infidelity. We have separation. We have infidelity. I gestured to Rachel's folder. We have proof. You have 30 minutes to pack a bag. Take your suits, your shoes, your golf clubs. Leave everything else. If you're not gone in 30 minutes, I call the police and have you removed. And I will make sure every one of your colleagues, every one of your country, club friends, knows exactly why. The sheer, cold finality in my tone got through to him. He saw it then. The Lena he'd married, the accommodating, quiet Lena, was gone. In her place was someone he didn't recognize, someone dangerous. David was already slinking toward the door. I'm going. This is too much. He looked at me, his eyes full of a confused, desperate sorrow. Lena, I'm sorry. For everything. I never meant that. I'm just messed up. I didn't absolve him. He was an adult. His messed up had nearly destroyed my life. Goodbye, David. He left, the door closing softly behind him. Mark and I stood facing each other. Rachel discreetly busied herself with her phone, giving us the illusion of privacy. You've been planning this, Mark said, his voice a hollow echo. The financials, the PI, Rachel hiding in the sunroom. This is an ambush. No, I said, shaking my head slowly. You ambushed me at our anniversary dinner. You dropped a nuclear bomb on our life. I'm just the one who built a fallout shelter. You should have stuck to spreadsheets. Mark, you're better with numbers than you are with people. He flinched. I had struck a core truth. He was a strategist, a calculator. He'd just miscalculated me. He'd thought I'd crumble, beg, try to prove my innocence. He hadn't counted on me having an arsenal of my own. The baby dot he started, his eyes dropping to my stomach, is mine. I finished for him. You forfeited any say the moment you asked, whose is it? And tried to drain our bank account. You'll get the paternity test you're so desperate for. And when it confirms you're the biological father, which it will, because the donor profile was vetted and sealed, you will have the rights and responsibilities afforded to you by the state of Illinois. Nothing more. And if you think for 1 second I'm letting you near this child after the stunt you pulled, you're even more delusional than your brother. You can't keep me from my own child. He snarled, the facade crumbling completely. Watch me, I said, the words dropping like stones. I have evidence of your attempted financial fraud. I have evidence of a long-term affair. I have a recording of you attempting to coerce a false paternity accusation from a psychologically vulnerable family member. And I have a sister who is a logistical genius and a divorce attorney who eats men like you for breakfast. You're going to get the most expensive, most humiliating divorce this city has seen in a decade. And when I'm done, you'll be lucky to afford a studio apartment, let alone see your child in it. He stared at me, truly seeing me for the first time. The soft, malleable woman he'd married was a ghost. The woman before him was made of iron and ice. You'll ruin me, he whispered. You ruined us. I replied, I'm just handling the demolition. Now, you have 28 minutes. I'd start packing. He stood there for another long moment, a war of emotions on his face, rage, disbelief, a flicker of what might have been regret. Then, with a stiff, defeated nod, he turned and walked upstairs. The sound of his footsteps on the hardwood was the sound of an era ending. When he was gone, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. My legs trembled. I gripped the edge of the counter. Rachel was at my side in an instant, her arm around my shoulders. Breathe, Lena. Just breathe. You were magnificent. A stone-cold queen. I feel sick, I muttered. That's the adrenaline crash. And the baby. Sit. She guided me to a stool. Here. She poured me a glass of orange juice from the fridge. Sugar. I drank, the sweet tartness grounding me. The silence of the house felt different now, not empty, but purged. He's not going to take this lying down, Rachel said, her voice low. He's going to lawyer up. A big, nasty firm. They're going to come after you. Hard. They'll use everything. They'll paint you as unstable, as a gold digger, as a woman who tricked him into fatherhood. I know. Alicia is ready. We have the first volley. The TRO. The asset freeze. It puts him on the defensive. But the paternity thing, that it's a wild card. He's going to demand a test immediately. In utero. It's a simple blood test now. We should get ahead of it. Do it. Get the results. Take the mystery away. I nodded, my mind racing. The donor. Mark's profile. The intricate, deceitful web he'd woven. I'd let him believe the donor was a stranger. It was better that way. For now, let him cling to that doubt. It was one more piece of leverage. We heard the thump of a suitcase from upstairs. He was packing. Fast. I'll stay tonight, Rachel said. Ben can handle the kids. You shouldn't be alone. Thank you, I said, and the words were utterly inadequate. I looked at her. How did you know? About the hotel. The LLC. She gave a tight smile. When you sent code black, I activated the network. Ben's friend is a forensic accountant. I had a hunch. Men like Mark, they're not original. They follow a playbook. Hide money. Create a narrative. Gaslight. We just had to find the play he was running. The sound of wheels on hardwood. Mark came down the stairs, pulling a large rolling suitcase, a garment bag slung over his shoulder. He looked like any businessman heading to the airport, not a man being exiled from his own life. He stopped in the foyer, not looking at me. My lawyer will be in touch. Mine, too, I said. Her name is Alicia Vance. I'm sure you've heard of her. He paled. Alicia Vance was known in Chicago legal circles as the Valkyrie. He'd heard of her. Good. He opened the door, the morning light spilling in. He paused, his back to me. I did love you, Lena, once. The words were meant to wound, to evoke a memory of something sweeter. But all I felt was a vast, echoing emptiness. No, you didn't, I said quietly. You just loved the idea of me. There's a difference. He didn't reply. He just stepped out, pulling the door, closed behind him with a soft, final click. The silence descended again, deeper this time. It was over. The confrontation, the explosion, the eviction. I should have felt victorious, elated. Instead, I felt hollow, drained, and profoundly sad. Rachel's phone buzzed. She looked at it, her brow furrowing. It's the PI, the one I hired to look into David's background. He says it's urgent. What is it? I asked, a new thread of anxiety weaving through the numbness. He wouldn't say. Wants to meet. Says it's about David's past. Something that wasn't in the public records. She looked at me, her eyes serious. He said, and I quote, "Your sister might be in more danger than you think." I stared at her, the cold from the kitchen floor seeping back into my bones. David, sweet, confused, pathetic David. What danger could he possibly be? Before I could ask, my own phone buzzed on the counter. A text from an unknown number. I picked it up, my heart hammering against my ribs. The message was from David. I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you. He made me do it. He told me to test you. The baby did it's his. Check the donor files. Please, just check. I read it twice, the words swimming. He told me to test you. The baby did it's his. Rachel, I said, my voice strange. We need to look at the donor files. Right now. She was at my side in an instant, reading the text over my shoulder. Her face, always so controlled, went pale. "Oh, my God," she breathed. He didn't. The hollowness inside me was suddenly filled with a new, chilling dread. Mark's final play wasn't a legal maneuver or a financial trick. It was biological. It was in my womb. And I had just thrown the architect out of the house. What does that mean? Check the donor files. Rachel's voice was sharp. I handed her the phone. The text from David glowed. "He told me to test you. The baby that it's his. The fertility clinic," I said, the words scraping my throat. "Great beginnings. Donor 384. I chose him, or thought I did." Rachel's eyes scanned the text. "Mark tampered with it." "I don't know." David said, "Test you." This whole scene was at a test, to see how I'd react. And if the baby is Mark's biologically, the donor profile was fake. Rachel finished. He substituted himself. But why the charade? "Control," I whispered. The word tasted foul. If we had a baby normally, it was mutual. This way, if I ever left, he could claim I tricked him. He'd have a narrative. The unstable wife who used a donor, only to be saved by his biology. It makes him the victim. It's perverse. It's monstrous. Rachel corrected, her face hardening. "The PI can wait. We're going to the clinic. Now." They wouldn't talk to us. Patient confidentiality. But Rachel bulldozed through. "You're the patient. I'm your advocate. We're not leaving without the real records." The drive was a blur. The clinic, a serene, spa-like building, felt like a cruel joke. Rachel marched to the receptionist. "We need to speak to the director. Now. It's regarding a criminal breach of protocol." She slapped down her crisis management card. The receptionist, flustered, made a call. Dr. Alastair Combs, the weekend director, appeared, harried, in a private room. Rachel laid it out. Suspected donor tampering. Fraudulent substitution. A serious allegation, he said, but his professional alarm was clear. He pulled the files. Minutes ticked by. Finally, he returned with a tablet, his expression grim. "Mrs. Whitmore, the donor profile matches your selection. However," he took a breath, "the sample used in your procedure was from a different lot. It corresponds to a private bank for known donors, typically a spouse." The room tilted. "So it was Mark's, according to records." "Yes, a sample from Mark Whitmore, with your signed consent on file." He showed me a scanned form. The signature was a good, but imperfect, forgery of mine. "I didn't sign this. The form is in the file. If true, this is fraud, possibly criminal." He looked sick. "I'll launch an investigation. Contact authorities. This is unprecedented. The baby is his, biologically, according to these records." "Yes, I am so sorry. This is a profound violation." Profound violation. The words were too small. It was a hijacking of my body. My choice. The nausea won. I bolted to the sink and vomited. Rachel was there, holding me. "We need everything," she told Dr. Combs. Her voice steel. "Every document. Names. Now." We left with a damning envelope. Outside, the sun was too bright. "We have him," Rachel stated. "Reproductive coercion. It's a crime. It buries him in custody." I stared out the window. I wanted this baby to be mine. A choice. Now it's a monument to his manipulation. "No," she said, fiercely. "The baby is yours. He contaminated the how, not the what." My phone buzzed. "Mark, we need to talk. It's about David. It's worse than you think. He's scrambling." Rachel scowled, using David as a diversion. But David's text echoed. "Test you." The plan crystallized. Create paternity doubt via David. Then reveal the truth of his own biology. Casting himself as the hero. A masterstroke of gaslighting. We talked to the PI. I said, my voice firming. "If David's more than a patsy, we need to know." At a chrome and vinyl diner, the PI, Frank, Waited. David Whitmore. Clean on paper, he said, but I dug deeper. 5 years ago, a 5,150 psych hold. Domestic disturbance. Ex-girlfriend. Melissa Gable. He played a recording. Melissa's hesitant voice described the obsession. The gifts. The night he climbed her fire escape and stood watching her sleep. The police. The hold. His brother, Mark, came. Smooth. Convinced the doctors David was harmless. Paid for a private facility. Moved me. Had me sign an NDA. Frank stopped the recorder. She said Mark visited David daily. When David got out, he was different. Programmed. Devoted. Mark saved him. The pieces locked. David wasn't just delusional. He was a weapon Mark had cultivated and aimed. The test. I breathed. Mark directed David's confession. To see how I'd react. A stress test for the divorce. Frank nodded. Fits a strategist's profile. The donor switch was the endgame. Rachel said, ultimate biological control. My phone buzzed again. Mark. Lena. I'm serious. David's dangerous. We need to talk. For your safety. Switching tactics. I said. Now, he's the concerned brother. Frank's face was grim. He's not wrong about the danger. Based on that statement, David escalates. He's fixated on you. With his world collapsing, there's no telling. A primal fear lands through me. Physical safety. Mine and the baby's. You should stay somewhere he doesn't know. Frank said. No. I said, surprising myself. I'm not hiding. The house is mine. It's a fortress. We go on the offensive. Now. Rachel smiled. The look she gave when I stood up to our father. Okay, Frank, get that police report. We establish the pattern. Lena, we call Alicia. We give her everything. The clinic fraud. David's history. We file for a TRO against both of them. Cite reproductive coercion. Manipulation of a mentally unstable person. Exclusive use of the house. Asset freeze. Supervised visitation only pending his psych eval. Total war. Do it, I said, driving home. My phone buzzed. An email from an unknown address. He knows you know. Be careful. See. Chloe. My heart hammered. I clicked the link. A cloud folder. Screenshots of texts between Mark and Chloe. Documents. Elise. And a folder labeled David. Scanned medical records. Elmwood Behavioral Health Center. David Whitmore. Diagnosis. Erotomania. With narcissistic and borderline features. Fixation can lead to stalking. Trespassing. Violence if the delusion is threatened. Patient is highly suggestible to authority figures. Brother. Mark Whitmore. Healthcare proxy. Aware of risks. Mark knew. He knew exactly the lit fuse he'd aimed at me. I showed Rachel. He's playing with fire. She whispered. The phone rang. Mark. I answered on speaker. Lena. Thank God. You got my texts. About David. His voice was contrived relief. I did. He's sick. He fixates. I was trying to protect you. Manage it. But now I'm worried he'll fixate on you. You need to be careful. The audacity. I know about Elmwood. Mark. The erotomania. That you're his proxy. That you've known he was dangerous for 5 years. Silence. A gear-grinding halt. I don't know what you're talking about. The game's over. I have everything. The bank transfers. The hotel receipts. The forged clinic consent. David's medical records. You're a criminal. You're going to lose everything. I hung up. Rachel let out a low whistle. My phone buzzed. Mark's text. You have no idea what you're dealing with. You think you've won. This has just begun. I looked at the text, then at my house. Fear was a cold knot, but it was joined by a fierce certainty. No, Mark, I said to the empty air. It's just ended for you. I turned to Rachel. Call Alicia. We're coming in. And tell her to bring her biggest gun. We're not just filing for divorce. We're filing charges. The law offices of Vance Associates occupied the 40th floor of a glass tower overlooking the Chicago River. It wasn't Alicia Vance's main firm, it was a smaller, more discreet satellite office. Today, it was our war room. Alicia Vance was nothing like I'd imagined. Petite, late 40s, with a sleek dark bob and eyes like flint. She wore a simple cream silk blouse and black trousers. She moved with lethal efficiency. She didn't shake my hand. She took it in both of hers. Her grip firm. Lena, Rachel has briefed me. I'm so sorry, and I'm going to enjoy this. She ushered us into a conference room with a stunning city view. A young associate set up a laptop. Files were stacked, our files. Immediate threats first. Alicia said, her voice calm and precise. Physical safety. David Whitmore. Erotomania diagnosis. History of escalation. Your husband agitated him and cut him loose. He's a loose cannon. Fixated on you. Clear and present danger. She slid a document across the table. Emergency order of protection against David. Cites the medical records. The ex-girlfriend's testimony. His recent communications. A judge will sign it this afternoon. It orders him to stay 500 feet from you. Your home. Your work. Police can arrest him on site if he violates. We'll have it served today. I nodded. Relief washing through me. The law was becoming a shield. Second, Mark. Alicia continued. The financial fraud. The affair. The reproductive coercion. For the divorce and criminal complaints. For immediate safety. His threat is manipulation and the fact he knows David best. I'm also filing for a TRO against Mark, based on the reproductive fraud and using a mentally ill person to harass you. It shows coercive control. It will give us exclusive use of the marital home and freeze all assets. Will a judge grant it? He hasn't threatened me physically, I said. Alicia gave a thin smile. Reproductive coercion is intimate partner violence, tampering with your medical procedure, forging your signature to impregnate you without your knowledge. That's a profound violation of bodily autonomy. Judges, especially female judges, understand, combined with the financial siphoning. It paints a picture of a man who believes he owns you. The court doesn't like that. It was the first time someone had named it violence. Not just betrayal, but a violent trespass. Now, the mistress, Alicia said, turning a page. Chloe, her email with the documents changes things. She's moved from pawn to potential witness. Hostile, but her evidence is invaluable. We need to flip her. How? Rachel asked. She's in love with him. Humiliated. She's also pregnant, I said quietly. Alicia's eyebrows rose. Interesting and complicating. Ties her to him, but also gives her a vested interest in his financial future, which will be bleak. She tapped her pen. We talked to her. Today, before Mark spins a new tale. Alicia placed the call on speaker. Chloe answered. Wary. Chloe, this is Alicia Vance, attorney for Lena Whitmore. We'd like to speak with you. A long silence. I have nothing to say. I think you do, Alicia said, her tone shifting to therapeutic reasonableness. You've been lied to. Used. You're intelligent. You must see that. The man promising to leave his wife for you was simultaneously trying to impregnate her with his own biological material through fraud. What? Chloe's voice was a sharp whisper. The fertility clinic. The donor was a ruse. It was Mark's sample. He forged Lena's consent. You were plan B. Chloe. The baby you're carrying was his contingency. Lena's child was his priority. A choked sob. He told me she was unstable. Making it up. He lied. We have the clinic records. The forged form. We have everything. The financial transfers. The LLC. The hotel receipts. We're filing for divorce and pressing criminal charges. His financial future is about to evaporate. He will have nothing. No job. No money. A criminal record. Alicia let that hang. The child you're carrying will have a father who is a convicted felon, destitute, and manipulative. Or, her voice softened. You could help us. Give a sworn statement. In exchange, We can ensure provision is made for your child's welfare from the marital assets before they're refrozen. A small, secure trust for the baby to ensure Mark's failures don't become your child's burden. A masterstroke. Appeal to intellect, maternal instinct, self-preservation. Why would you do that? Chloe asked, suspicion warring with hope. Because you're a victim too, I said, speaking for the first time. And that baby is innocent. I don't want your child to suffer because its father is a monster. Another silence. Shaky breaths. What do you need me to do? Meet with me. Today. Bring your phone. Any devices with messages from him. We'll take your statement. It's confidential for now. And we'll draft the trust paperwork. Okay. I'll come. Where? 2 hours later. Chloe sat in the conference room, small and washed out. She handed over her phone. The associate downloaded the data. Her statement was halting, painful. The client lunches that became hotel afternoons. Promises of a future. Stories about me, the unstable wife. The phantom pregnancy. He said you were a sociopath. Chloe said, not meeting my eyes. Incapable of real love. That you'd trap him with a baby for money. The irony choked the air. Every accusation was his confession. She signed the affidavit. The trust documents will be drawn and sent, contingent on the asset distribution. But I'll prioritize it. Chloe nodded. Exhausted. What will happen to him? He will be served with divorce papers, a TRO, a civil lawsuit. The clinic is filing a criminal complaint. His brother gets the order of protection. His life, as he knows it, is over. Chloe stood to leave. At the door, she paused. I'm sorry. I really believed him. I thought I was special. I know, I said. We'd both fallen for different lies. After she left, Alicia turned to us. Productive. Her testimony corroborates the timeline and his intent to deceive both of you. Provides motive for the financial moves. My phone buzzed. A notification from my home security system. Motion detected. Back garden. My blood ran cold. I pulled up the live feed. David, standing in my walled garden, staring up at the house. Pale, gaunt. In his hand, a small, wrapped box. He's at the house, I said, my voice tight. Rachel peered. He's violating the order already. Call the police. Wait, Alicia said, her eyes sharp. This could be useful. Let it record. If he attempts to enter, or leaves a threatening item, it's stronger evidence. We'll call, but let's give him rope. We watched, huddled around my phone. David stood for 5 minutes, just staring. Then he walked to the back door, knelt, placed the box on the doorstep. He touched it reverently, stood, looked up, and walked out of frame. What is that? We're not finding out, Alicia said, dialing. We call police now. Report trespass by an individual with a psychiatric history and a protective order pending. They'll collect it as evidence. 20 minutes later, police were at my house. They used a grab her to secure the box into an evidence bag. They canvassed, found a witness, didn't locate David. At the precinct, with Alicia, the box was opened. Inside, nestled in tissue, a small, exquisitely carved wooden bird. A phoenix, wings spread as if rising from ashes. No note. A phoenix, Rachel murmured. Pale. Operation Phoenix. The chill was absolute. He knew. He'd seen the text on my phone, or had been listening. It was a message. In his mind, the destruction of my marriage was the opportunity for his rebirth with me. A courtship gift in his distorted reality. This escalates the threat level. Alicia said. The police agreed, with the medical records, pending order, and trespass on video. They issued a bolo for David. We returned to Alicia's office. We have to find him before he does something worse. I said. Frank is on it. Rachel said, checking all his haunts. My phone rang. Blocked number. I showed it. Answer. I'll trace. The text said. I put it on speaker. Hello. Lena. David. eerily calm, flat monotone. Did you get my gift? David, you need to leave me alone. The police are looking for you. The police. They don't understand. Mark never understood. He thinks he owns people. He owned you, but you're not like the others. You're strong. You're rising from the ashes, like the phoenix. I saw your text. It's perfect. David, listen. You're not well. You need help. Elmwood can help you again. A sharp, bitter laugh. Elmwood, where Mark paid them to tell me my feelings were a sickness, where he programmed me. I'm done. I'm awake. I see him. And I see you. We can be free. Together. There is no together. I'm pregnant. I'm getting a divorce. I want to be left alone. I kept my voice firm. Unemotional. The baby. Our new beginning. It doesn't matter who the father is. I'll be a better father. I'll love it. I'll love you. We'll be a family. A real family. The delusion was complete. In his mind, the divorce had cleared the path for him. David, the police are here, I said, disrupting the fantasy. I know. I saw them. The man pretending to read plant labels. The woman sketching badly. But they won't do anything as long as I'm close to you. And once we leave, once we disappear, we can start over. We're not leaving. David. I stood, facing him on the screen. My legs were water, but I held his gaze. This ends here. Put the knife down. I guessed. Gambling. For the first time. Irritation flickered. You're still trying to control. Like Mark. Don't become him. A pause. I heard a faint metallic shift. He had it. Come with me. Willingly. Or that we rise together in a different way. In a blaze. Here. Now. Forever together. The ultimatum. Come with him or die with him. He meant it. Okay. I said softly, taking a half step back. Okay. David. You win. His face lit up with beatific joy. You see. You see it. I see it. I forced a smile. But we can't just walk out. The police will stop us. We need a distraction. A distraction. Eager. Like a child planning a game. Yes. You create a scene. Pull a fire alarm. Something. While they're dealing with that, I'll slip out the side service entrance. I'll meet you, at, the place where you left me the bird. My back garden. In 1 hour. We'll go from there. I was spinning. Buying time. Getting him away from me. He frowned. Thinking. The logic appealed. You'll be there. You promise. I promise. A new beginning. In 1 hour. He stared. Searching for deception. A slow smile spread. He believed. The fantasy was too powerful. 1 hour. He nodded. Don't be late. He gave a longing look. Then the line went dead. Voices erupted in my ear. The police on the trace. Suspect is moving. He's heading for the lobby. All units. Converge. Sounds of running. Shouts. A scream. A command. Police. Drop the weapon. Drop it now. A scuffle. A crash. Silence. Detective Reyes's voice. Suspect in custody. Weapon secured. He's unharmed. We have him. Lena. It's over. The relief buckled my knees. Saturday, tears streaming. It was over. He was caught. They escorted me out a service entrance. Rachel was there, pulling me into a crushing hug. Never do that to me again. She sobbed. At the station, I gave my statement. David was booked on a dozen charges. High bail. He'd go to a secure psychiatric facility with criminal charges. Mark was notified. He showed up. Shattered. Asked to see me. I agreed. With Detective Reyes. He looked across the table. The arrogant executive was gone. A hollowed-out man. Is it true? He had a knife. He was going to... Yes. He put his head in his hands. My God, what have I done? You played God with people's lives. You almost got me killed. Made your child an orphan before it was born. He flinched. I'll drop everything. The divorce. I'll sign whatever. Just tell me what you want. I want you to leave. Sign the papers Alicia gives you. Giving me full custody with supervised visitation at a court center. pending a full psychological eval of you. Plead guilty to the clinic fraud charges, then move to another city and never contact me or my child again. If you do, I destroy what's left of you." He looked up, red-rimmed eyes. "You'd keep me from my child. You forfeited the right when you used the child as a pawn. You can have a small, supervised chance to be a sperm donor who behaves. That's more than you deserve." He stared, seeing the finality. The woman he'd married was gone, forged in his betrayals. She was stronger. "Okay," he whispered. "The fight gone." "Okay." A month later, the divorce was final. Mark took a plea deal, a felony, probation, a fine. He moved to Seattle. Supervised visitation would start after the birth, under strict conditions. I sold the Georgian house, bought a smaller, sun-filled condo near Rachel. I could see the lake. My pregnancy progressed. The sickness faded. I felt the baby move. Little flutters of hope. Rachel brought a gift. A framed photograph of a resilient fern unfurling in the conservatory. A better memory. She said, "I hung it in the nursery, painted soft yellow. I was putting together the crib when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My heart stuttered. Then I read it. It's Chloe. I had the baby. A girl. Emma." The trust came through. "We're okay. I hope you are too." I stared, then typed back, "Congratulations. Be well. Both of you." I put the phone down, returned to the crib, tightening a screw. The past was a closed book. The future was a clean crib, waiting. I placed my hand on my stomach, feeling a strong, definite kick. A hello. "Soon, little one," I whispered. "Your mom is ready." The afternoon sun streamed in, warm and bright. Outside, the city hummed, indifferent, and that was perfect. I was no longer prey, pawn, victim. I was the architect, a mother, a survivor. I had risen from the ashes, not as a phoenix of myth, but as myself. They moved us at 4 a.m. in an unmarked police sedan, a safe house, a small, anonymous apartment in Rogers Park, owned by the city, smelling of stale air and disinfectant, bars on the windows, 3 locks on the door. A female officer, Detective Anya Reyes, was assigned to stay, compact, with kind eyes and a calm presence. "We'll find him," she said. "He's made mistakes. The car, the delivery attempt. He's getting sloppy because he's desperate." I wanted to believe her, but the fear was a cold stone in my gut. David wasn't sloppy, he was focused. The failed delivery wasn't a mistake, it was a statement. "I know where you are." Rachel and Alicia were a flurry. Between police updates, they worked the legal front. The divorce filing was public, splashed across blogs. Mark's name was mud. Sterling Financial issued a terse statement. He was no longer with the firm. The clinic announced firings and cooperation with the DA. Criminal charges were being considered. Mark's world dismantled in 72 hours. I felt only numb, watchful dread. At 10 a.m., my phone rang. Blocked number. Different from David's. Detective Reyes nodded. "Answer." "I'll trace." I put it on speaker. "Hello, Lena." It was Mark. His voice was different, hollow, stripped bare. "We need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about. Your lawyer talks to mine." "It's about David." A shaky breath. "The police just called. They found his studio. They don't want me to come look at something." The change in his tone set off alarms. "What did they find?" "They wouldn't say. But the detective, he sounded grim." "Lena, I think that he's done something. To himself. Or planning something big." The stone turned to ice. "Why are you calling me?" Another silence. His voice was a whisper. "Because I'm scared. For you." I finally read the full file from Elmwood. The things I had them gloss over the violence in his fantasies. It wasn't just romantic obsession. It was about possession. Ultimate possession. If he can't have the object, no one can. I didn't want to believe it. I thought I could manage it. I thought I could use it. His voice broke. I was wrong. about everything. The closest to an apology I'd get, motivated by terror of consequences. What do you want me to do? Mark, be safe. The police, but they think he's escalating toward a violent confrontation. They're putting extra patrols near all your known locations. But Lena, he's not going to come where police are. He's smarter. He's been watching. He knows patterns. What's your point? Reyes mouthed, keep him talking. He'll go where you feel safe, where you let your guard down. Somewhere the police aren't watching every second. Somewhere, sentimental. A chill crawled up my spine. Where? I don't know. Think. Is there somewhere you went when we fought? Somewhere you go to think? Somewhere that's just yours? My mind raced. The condo. He'd found that. Rachel's. He'd tried. My house. Covered. The library. Closed. Then it hit me. A tiny, hidden place. The Lincoln Park Conservatory. The Fern Room. A lush, humid, otherworldly place. When my father's rages were too much, I hid in the library. As an adult, when Mark's world felt too cold, I went to the Fern Room. It felt primal, alive. I'd gone there the day after I secretly decided on the fertility clinic, to be among growing things when I decided to grow a life. I'd never told Mark, never told anyone. How could David know? The text, Operation Phoenix, the carved bird, the mythical bird that rises from ashes, associated with rebirth, and with ferns, in some iconography, the phoenix among lush, prehistoric foliage. Had he made the connection? His twisted, poetic mind. Lena, Mark pulled me back. Is there somewhere? I have to go, I said abruptly. Lena, wait. I hung up. Reyes looked at me. What is it? I know where he might be, or where he might be waiting. I explained about the Fern Room. Reyes was skeptical. It's a public place, probably busy on a Sunday. It's huge. The Fern Room is in the back. Quiet, often empty. Foliage is dense. You could hide someone. It fits his narrative. A rebirth among ancient ferns. A final, dramatic confrontation. Reyes conferred on the radio. We'll send a team to sweep. Plain clothes. You are not leaving. I paced. A caged animal. Sending police might spook him. He could run. Disappear. Wait. Or, if armed, it could turn into a hostage situation in a public place. An idea, reckless and terrifying, formed. It was Rachel's kind of idea. A controlled detonation. But I had to be the trigger. I waited until Reyes was in the kitchen. Pulled Rachel and Alicia into the bedroom. I have to go there, I whispered. No, they said in unison. Hear me out. Police go in. Guns drawn. It's a glass house. If he has a knife, people hurt. Or he sees them, runs. And we're back to square one. Him more desperate. But if I go seemingly alone, he'll show himself. He wants me. A confrontation. A resolution. He wants to enact his fantasy. I'm there. On his stage. He comes to me. Your people hidden. Waiting. It's too dangerous. Rachel said. Pale. He has a knife. Lena. Zip ties. I know. But I'm tired of hiding. Tired of being prey. This ends today. On my terms. I walk into his trap. We spring ours. Alicia studied me. Legally risky. Personally insane. But IT could work. Perfect police coordination. A wire. Panic button. Close back up. I'll do it, I said. Certainty solidifying. But it's my show. My choice. An hour of fierce arguing with Reyes and superiors. They opposed. Liability. Risk. I was adamant. Alicia wielded influence. Finally, a compromised, insane plan. I would go to the conservatory. Appear alone. Wear a wire. Panic button. 2 plain clothes as tourists nearby. 2 at exits. SWAT on standby 2 blocks away. The most dangerous thing I'd ever agree to. As they fitted the wire, my hands were steady. Fear was there, joined by clear-headed resolve. Final move. Checkmate. Rachel drove. Knuckles white. You don't have to do this. Lee. Yes, I do. For me. For the baby. So we never look over our shoulder again. She pulled up a block away. A bright, sunny day. Families. Couples. Oblivious. I got out. I love you, Ratch. Come back to me, she said, eyes shining. I walked toward the grand, glass-domed building. Heart pounding. Paid donation. Pushed through heavy doors. Warm, moist air. Scent of earth and blooms. I moved past flowers. Orchids. Following the familiar path to the fern room. Humidity increased. Light grew greener. Sound of running water. Quieter. A few murmurs. Foliage swallowing sound. I entered the fern room. A cathedral of green. Vast fronds arched overhead. Dripping. A small stream. Moss on stones. Beautiful. Peaceful. Suddenly terrifying. I walked slowly. Senses hyper-alert. Every rustle made my pulse jump. An elderly couple. A young woman sketching. Police. Or just people. I found a bench in a quiet corner, partially screened by a massive fern. Saturday pretended to look at my phone. Waiting. Minutes ticked. 5. 10. Was I wrong? Wild goose chase. Panic button a hard lump. Then, a soft voice. Right behind me. I knew you'd come. I froze. He'd been there. Hidden. Just feet away. Slowly. I turned. David stepped from behind the giant fern. He looked terrible, gaunt. Unwashed. Eyes burning. But smiling. A gentle, dreamy smile. In his right hand, held loosely, a long hunting knife. Hello, David, I said, voice calm. The wire was live. This place. Perfect, he said, gaze drifting. Beginning of the world. New beginnings. For us. There's no us. David, this has to stop. You need help. I don't need help, he said, a step closer. Knife glinted dully. I need you to see. Understand. Mark's world is ashes. Old world gone. We rise. Together. Like the phoenix. He gestured with the knife. Conducting an invisible orchestra. I protect you. Love you. Father your child needs. A real father. Not a calculator. A soul. Delusion a perfect. Closed loop. No reasoning. David. Police are here. I said. Disrupting. All around. If you don't put the knife down. Ends badly. His smile didn't falter. I know. Saw them. Man, pretending to read labels. Woman, sketching badly. They won't do anything as long as I'm close. And once we leave, disappear into city we start over. We're not leaving. David. I stood, facing him. Legs like water. But I held his gaze. Ends here. Now. Put the knife down. Irritation flickered. Still trying to control. Like Mark. Don't become him. He raised the knife. Not to strike. But emphasize. Come with me. Willingly. Or we rise together a different way. In a blaze. Here. Now. Forever together. The ultimatum. Come with him into madness. Or die with him. He meant it. Okay. I said softly. Half step back. As if considering. Okay. David. You win. His face lit with beatific joy. You see. You see it. I see it. Forced a small smile. But we can't just walk out. Police stop us. Need a distraction. A distraction. Eager. Child planning a game. Yes. You create a scene. Pull fire alarm. Something. While they deal. I slip outside service entrance. Meet you. The place you left the bird. My back garden. 1 hour. Go from there. Spinning a story. Buying time. Getting him away. Into open. He frowned. Thinking. Logic appealed. You'll be there. Promise. I promise. New beginning. 1 hour. He stared. Searching for deception. A slow smile spread. He believed. Fantasy too powerful. 1 hour. He nodded. Don't be late. Last longing look. Turned. Walked quickly up the path. Disappearing into foliage. The moment he was out of sight, I sagged against the bench. Trembling uncontrollably. Voices erupted in my ear. Suspect moving north through palm room, heading for main lobby. All units converge. Do not let him reach public. Sounds of running. Shouts. A woman screamed. A sharp command. Police. Drop the weapon. Drop it now. A scuffle. A crash of breaking pottery. More shouts. Silence. A voice. Detective Reyes. Suspect in custody. Weapon secured. Unharmed. Few scratches. We have him. Lena. It's over. Flood of relief, so intense my knees buckled. Saturday tears streaming. Over. He was caught. Monster caged. Plain clothes officers appeared. Are you hurt? Ma'am. I shook my head, unable to speak. They escorted me out a service entrance, away from gawking crowds. A squad car waited. Rachel was there. Bone-crushing hug. Never, ever do that to me again. She sobbed. At the station, I gave my statement. David booked on a dozen charges. High bail. Going to secure psychiatric facility with criminal charges. Gone. Mark was notified. He showed up. Shattered. Asked to see me. I agreed. With Reyes. He looked across the table. Hollowed out man. Is it true? He had a knife. He was going to. Yes. He put his head in his hands. My God, what have I done? You played God with people's lives. Almost got me killed. Made your child an orphan before born. He flinched. I'll drop everything. Divorce. Sign whatever. Just tell me what you want. I want you to leave. Sign papers Alicia gives. Full custody with supervised visitation at court center. Pending full psych eval of you. Plead guilty to clinic fraud charges. Then move to another city. Never contact me or my child again. If you do, I destroy what's left of you. He looked up, red-rimmed. You'd keep me from my child. You forfeited the right when you used child as pawn. You get a small, supervised chance to be a sperm donor who behaves. That's more than you deserve. He stared, seeing finality. The woman he married was gone, forged in his betrayals. Stronger. Okay, he whispered. Fight gone. Okay. A month later. Divorce final. Mark took plea deal, felony. Probation. Fine. Moved to Seattle. Supervised visitation after birth. Strict conditions. I sold the Georgian house. Tainted. Bought a smaller, sun-filled condo in a secure building near Rachel. Could see the lake. My pregnancy progressed. Sickness faded. I felt the baby move. Little flutters of hope. One afternoon, Rachel brought a gift. A framed photograph. Not a phoenix, but a resilient, beautiful fern, unfurling a new frond in the dappled green light of the conservatory. A better memory of that place, she said. I hung it in the nursery. The room was soft yellow. I was putting together the crib, a soothing task, when my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. For a second, my heart stuttered. Then I read it. It's Chloe. I had the baby. A girl. Emma. The trust came through. We're okay. I hope you are too. I stared, then typed back. Congratulations. Be well. Both of you. I put the phone down, returned to the crib, tightening a screw. The past was a closed book, a painful lesson. The future was a clean, empty crib, waiting to be filled. I placed my hand on the swell of my stomach, feeling a strong, definite kick. A hello. Soon. Little one. I whispered. Your mom is ready. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, warm and bright. Outside, the city hummed with life, indifferent to my small drama, and that was perfect. I was no longer the prey, the pawn, the victim. I was the architect of my own life, a mother, a survivor. I had risen from the ashes, not as a phoenix of myth, but as something better, as myself. 6 months later, the Lakeview Community Center courtroom was nothing like the sterile chambers downtown. It was smaller, warmer, with honey-colored wood and large windows letting in the autumn sun. It felt less like a battleground and more like a place for final, quiet accounting. I sat at the petitioner's table, Alicia Vance to my right. She looked impeccable in a navy suit, a single string of pearls at her throat. On the table before her was a slim folder. All the artillery of the past months had been distilled into a few precise documents. Across the aisle, Mark sat with his lawyer, Richard Moss. Mark looked diminished. His suit was expensive, but hung slightly loose. His hair was still perfectly styled, but the silver at his temples seemed to have spread, aging him. He kept his eyes on the polished wood of the table, his hands clasped tightly. Richard Moss occasionally leaned in to whisper, but Mark just gave terse, single-word replies. This was the final hearing, not for the divorce. That decree, with its favorable terms for me, was already signed, sealed, and delivered. This was for the final orders regarding the baby. My daughter, Grace. I glanced down at the carrier nestled at my feet. She was sleeping, a pink knit cap covering her dark hair, her rosebud mouth working gently in a dream. 6 weeks old, 10 perfect fingers, 10 perfect toes, a heart so fierce it sometimes felt like it beat for both of us. Judge Eleanor Walker entered, the same no-nonsense woman who'd granted the initial TRO. She settled behind the bench, her intelligent eyes taking in the room. This is the matter of the permanent parenting plan for Grace Elizabeth Whitmore. She began, her voice clear. I have reviewed the submitted agreements, the court-ordered psychological evaluations, and the probation department's report. Ms. Vance, Mr. Moss, unless there is something new, I am prepared to rule based on the stipulated agreement. Nothing further, Your Honor, Alicia said. Nor from us, Richard Moss intoned, sounding resigned. Judge Walker nodded, putting on her reading glasses. Very well. The agreement, which the court finds to be in the best interests of the minor child, is hereby entered as the order of the court. She looked up, first at me, then at Mark. Mr. Whitmore, you are granted supervised visitation. The supervision shall be conducted by a professional agency. Safe harbor visitation services at a neutral location. Visits are to occur once per month, for a duration of 2 hours. For the first year, they may be increased to twice monthly in the second year, pending favorable reports from the supervisor and the child's therapist. When age appropriate, Mark's jaw tightened, but he nodded. You are to have no unsupervised contact. You are not to remove the child from the state of Illinois. You are to maintain your court-ordered therapy. You are to remain current on your child support, which has been set according to the guidelines, accounting for your current employment status. Mark had found a mid-level analyst job at a small firm. It paid a fraction of his sterling salary. The clinic fraud plea deal had cost him his CPA license. Any violation of these terms, Judge Walker continued, her gaze sharpening, will result in the immediate suspension of visitation and a return to this court for contempt proceedings. The safeguards here are not punitive, Mr. Whitmore. They are protective. This child's safety and emotional well-being are the court's sole concern. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Mark said, the words barely audible. Ms. Whitmore. The judge turned to me, her expression softening a fraction. You are granted sole legal and physical custody. You have done an admirable job, under profoundly difficult circumstances, of creating a stable and loving environment for your daughter. The court commends you. This order is final. You are free to go. Thank you, Your Honor, I said, my voice thick with an emotion I couldn't name. Not joy, not triumph. Closure. The gavel fell. It was over. In the hallway, Richard Moss shook Alicia's hand with professional courtesy, gave me a stiff nod, and walked quickly away, his client in tow. Mark paused, a few feet from me. He looked at the carrier at my feet, at the tiny sleeping form within. A complex spasm of emotion crossed his face, longing, regret, shame. It was gone in an instant, replaced by the familiar, careful blankness. She looks like you, he said quietly. She has your chin, I replied. It was true. A small, stubborn cleft. A biological fact. Nothing more. He nodded, swallowed. I'll follow the rules. Lena, I will. I know you will, I said, not because I trusted him, but because I knew the cost of deviation was now higher than he could bear. The control had shifted, irrevocably. He gave one last look at Grace, then turned and followed his lawyer out the double doors, into the pale fall light. Alicia squeezed my arm. It's done. Really, truly done. He's bound by a court order, monitored by the state, and financially tethered. This is the best possible outcome. I know. Thank you, Alicia, for everything. My pleasure. Truly. She gave a rare, genuine smile. Now go enjoy your daughter. And that lake view. You've earned it. Rachel was waiting outside, leaning against her SUV. She swooped in, peeking into the carrier. Hey, my favorite niece. Did you sleep through all the boring legal stuff? Smart girl. She looked at me. Okay, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. A deep, settled okay. We drove to my new condo, the one with the lake view. It was on the third floor of a secure building with a kind doorman named Gus, who always asked to see the baby. The rooms were filled with light and the comfortable, lived-in clutter that had been absent from the Georgian Museum. Grace's toys were already claiming territory. After Rachel left, I settled in the rocking chair by the window, Grace nursing contentedly. The late afternoon sun gilded the surface of Lake Michigan, turning it to hammered brass. I watched the sailboats, the joggers on the path, the endless, gentle rhythm of a city moving on. My phone, face down on the side table, buzzed. A notification. I finished feeding Grace, settled her in her bassinet, and picked it up. It was an email. The subject line, Case Update, David Whitmore. My breath hitched. I hadn't heard his name in months. Alicia had handled all of it. I opened the email. It was from the Assistant State's Attorney. Dear Ms. Whitmore, per your request to be informed of major developments, this is to notify you that David Whitmore, after extensive evaluation at the State Forensic Psychiatric Facility, was found unfit to stand trial. His condition, erotomania, is severe and treatment-resistant, based on the dangerousness assessment and the history of violence connected to his fixation. The court has ordered his indefinite commitment to the Illinois Department of Human Services Secure Treatment Facility in Elgin. He will be held there, with treatment, for the foreseeable future. You will be notified of any review hearings or potential changes to his status. A no-contact order remains permanently in place. Sincerely, Jennifer Park. Yesay. Indefinite commitment. A locked facility. He was gone, too. Not in a dramatic way, but in a clinical, administrative one. Erased from the board. I deleted the email. Then I went into my settings and permanently deleted it from the server. I didn't need the record. I didn't need the reminder. I walked to the window. Grace was making soft, sleeping sounds. The Phoenix photograph hung on the wall opposite her crib, not as a symbol of what I'd survived, but of what kept growing, green and relentless. In the aftermath, there were no more dragons to slay, no more wars to wage. The battlefield was quiet. A few days later, I bundled Grace into her stroller for a walk. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the smell of fallen leaves and wood smoke. We walked the path along the lake, me pointing out dogs and birds to her uncomprehending, wide-eyed delight. On the way back, I detoured past the old neighborhood, not to my old house. I'd heard it had been bought by a young family with twins, but to the small park at the end of the block. I sat on a bench, watching Grace watch the world. A woman with a stroller paused nearby, adjusting a blanket. We made the casual, smiling eye contact of new mothers in a park. She had a little boy, a few months older than Grace, who was babbling fiercely at a squirrel. He's very opinionated about squirrels. I said with a smile. She laughed. He's opinionated about everything. Is it your first? Yes. Her name is Grace. Mine's Henry. I'm Claire. We just moved to the neighborhood. We chatted for a few minutes, the endless topics of sleep, diapers, pediatricians. It was normal, easy, the kind of interaction I'd watched from the outside for years, wondering if I'd ever have it. We should have a play date sometime. Claire said as she got up to leave. There's a nice moms group that meets at the library on Tuesdays. You should come. I'd like that, I said, and I meant it. She waved and pushed Henry off toward the slides. I looked down at Grace, who had fallen asleep, her long dark lashes fanning her cheeks, the ghost of Mark's chin. A fact, not a sentence. I stood, adjusted the stroller blanket, and started the walk home. The sun was lower now, painting the sky in streaks of orange and violet. The lights in the condo buildings were starting to wink on, squares of yellow warmth in the deepening blue. As I walked, I realized the silence in my head was no longer the brittle, watchful silence of the safe house or the tense quiet before a confrontation. It was a peaceful silence, the silence of a house where the only alarms were the hungry cries of a baby. The only threats were spit up and missed naps. The only strategy required was how to get through the day with enough sleep and maybe a shower. I had risen, not in a single, fiery, mythical burst, but slowly, unevenly, like that fern in the photograph, pushing through the dark, damp soil of betrayal and fear, reaching stubbornly toward the light. I reached my building. Gus held the door with a smile. Evening. Ms. Lena, and the little miss. Evening. Gus, how's the knee? Acting up with the cold, but can't complain. Up in the elevator, the quiet hum. In the condo, I lifted Grace from her stroller, her warm, sleepy weight a perfect anchor in the center of my chest. I carried her to the big window. The city sprawled below, a galaxy of lives, each with its own secret pains and quiet joys. That's your city, Gracie, I whispered into her soft hair. It's messy and loud and beautiful, and it's all yours. She sighed in her sleep, a milky breath against my neck. I was no one's prey, no one's pawn, no one's victim. I was Lena. I was a mother. I was free, and in the quiet, well-lit safety of my own home, with my daughter's heart beating against mine. That was the only victory, the only title I would ever need.